this video, I'm going to show you how to make these door cookies with holiday wreaths. So stay tuned and I'll show you how. Here are the things that I'm going to use. A 4.5 by 3 inch rectangle cookie cutter, and I found that on eBay. I'm going to be using a hard and a round 1.5 inch cookie cutter. I'm going to be using red, brown, leaf green, and golden yellow food coloring by Wilton, and some ribbon. Alright guys, let's get started. Alright guys, to get started, I'm going to make some lines, and I'm going to scrape my cookie instead of using an edible marker. Since I am using white, I don't want any of that ink to get absorbed, and then I'll have like a ring of color around the edges of my white icing. So what I'm using is just a ruler here, and I'm going to try my best to make some straight lines. And I do this because usually when your cookie bakes, it'll expand. Sometimes it'll lose its shape. So I don't want to follow my cookie because it does have a little bit of bulging on the side. So I want to make sure that I stay straight when I pipe my icing. So this will give me a nicer, straighter door. It may not be completely straight once I add my icing, because once you start pushing your icing and spreading it, it'll sometimes go over that line, but this will help tremendously to keep it nice and straight. So as you see here, I'm just scraping the cookie, and as you see here, I'm not really going close to that edge again because my cookie is not completely straight and I don't want to follow that edge. Alright, so as long as I can see it, I don't know if the camera catches it, but I have my nice rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with my icing. My icing is in a little bit more on the medium consistency than flooding, not too runny, because I don't want it to overflow. I want to try to keep it nice and straight and inside my lines that I made. And also another thing that I'm doing is I'm going to be going in sections because my cookie is kind of large. So I want to make sure that I fill in each section and smooth it out and then continue on with the next one. That way it doesn't dry. And make sure that you pull these corners out so they stay nice and sharp and not too rounded. You can also do a nice thin outline first and let that crust, and then you can go ahead and fill it in. I didn't want a little border on mine, that's why I didn't go in that direction. So see here, I'm trying to blend that first section with the second section. Alright guys, so I did my best to keep the line pretty straight, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to give this about a couple hours to dry. If you want to leave it overnight, that's even better, because when you start doing your detail on top, you don't want to accidentally puncture your icing. Alright guys, so I gave this some time to dry. Now I am going to use these spatulas as rulers, and the reason why is because I like the thickness of this. Is perfect for making 4 rectangles here in this size cookie, and I'm going to use a smaller one to make a little bit of a different design, and that's having 2 at the bottom horizontally and then using this one to make 2 straight up. Just a little bit different. Here's one with 4 this way, and then the one I'm going to do is this one right here. So very easily, I'm going to start off with the bottom here. You can totally freehand this. I prefer freehanding it, but it is good to have some guidelines so you can pipe your lines straight. I am just scraping the lines. I can see it from here. I don't recommend using edible marker for this, because when you go over it with your white icing, you don't want any of that color to bleed into your icing. So as you see here, I'm just lightly scraping it just so where I can see it, and this fits perfectly in between here. Gives me 2 nice rectangle shapes, so I am using this as a ruler, which helps a lot. Here I'm just going to go across again just so where I could see it and where sure I can follow my line. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. It's gonna have icing over it. Okay, so I did the same thing with the other cookie already, just did the same thing except for I did 4 that way. So now I'm gonna go ahead with my white icing. Okay, so I have my white in a tip 2 and it is in a somewhat medium consistency because this will help the icing come out a bit slower and not so runny. That way you have control. I already did a couple here just so we can get the video moving because we want to get to the nicer part quickly. And you're going to do the same thing with the larger rectangle. And if you go with the other design, you're going to do the same exact thing, except for you're going to have 4 rectangles going on the same direction. As you see, those lines do come in handy. You know what to follow. And it just helps my lines stay much straighter. Don't worry so much if they don't come out completely straight and stress yourself out over that. So again, you're gonna do the same thing for these. As you see, I already started. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this up. Give this some time to dry so we can go ahead with our last design so we can be done. Alright guys, so I gave the line some time to dry. Now I have here, I believe these are about 1.5 inches heart and round cookie cutter, and I'm just going to use those to trace the inside just to give me a guideline. And then I have my icing. The brown one's going to be for the heart, and I have that in a tip 3 in a medium consistency. And the green is going to be for the circle, and this has a 14 star tip, and that's also in a medium consistency. I also have my golden yellow in a tip 1 and some ribbon. This is optional, but I'm going to be using ribbon. I have one that's 1/4 of an inch and one is 3/8 of an inch. You can use either one or none, but that does give it a really nice look to it. You'll see how that looks towards the end. So I already pre-made mine. I already did that. So what I'm going to do here is what I like to do with this one here, because the bow is going to be at the top, I'm going to set my bow where I'm going to want it to be, and then I'm going to set my cookie cutter right below it, and that'll give me my position. So I'm just scraping my icing. Okay, so I can see my lines. So same thing here with the circle. My bow I think I'm going to put at the bottom, so I can put this a little bit up higher. And again, I'm just going to roughly scrape my icing. Alright, so now with my brown, I'm just going to follow the scrape that I made. It doesn't have to be super perfect because we still have to make the lines that go on top. So it's going to be a pretty rough heart, so doesn't have to be super perfect. I'm just giving it a double line because I want it to be nice and thick, like height wise, not so much thick wise. So I'm going to give this some time to crust, just a few minutes, because then I'm going to be making lines on top of it, and I don't want that moisture of both icings to merge together. I want to keep that separate, so I'm going to set this aside. Now here I'm going to use my star tip, and with this you're just going to pipe and lift, pipe and lift. And I'm also going to give this some time to crust because I'm going to do a second line on top to make it a little bit more fuller. So I'm going to set these aside to dry. What I can do is add my knob, and that's just going to go right here with my golden yellow. And this is in a somewhat thick consistency in a tip 1. And here I'm just going to set this one here. And now I can go ahead and set that aside to crust for just maybe 3-4 minutes. Alright guys, so I gave it a few minutes to dry. As you see here, I did move on a little bit because I want to kind of advance my video. I don't want to make it too long. I'm still using my tip 1, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make little X's right across my lines that I just made earlier. And I'm just going to go all around my heart. And here, these I just made about 4 or 5 minutes ago. And the ones that have the little spaces in between, I'm going to do more X's in between that. They don't have to be super perfect. But what I'm trying to do here is make it a little bit fuller. And of course, fill and hide those little spaces. And so just go on, keep going all around your heart, but make sure that the first time that you do your X's, you're going to give that about 5 minutes to crest, and then you can go ahead and do a second line on top of that. So now with my wreath, again, with my star tip that I used earlier, I'm just going to pipe and lift right in between, not on top of the other one, but in between. And that, again, as you can see, will make that nice and full. So I did do my last one down here, so it is moist there, and that's where I'm going to attach my bow. You can put it at the top if you like, but I'm going to do it down here because I want to do my other one up here. I don't want to have both of them with the bows at the top, so I think this looks nice at the bottom. And now I'm going to give this some time to dry a little bit because I want to go in with some little red berries in there. So again, I don't want any of that red to get absorbed into my green, so I will give that some time to crust. All right, okay, so finishing this cookie off, finally, I have here in the tip 2 some medium consistency red, and I'm going to use that for the berries. As you see, I just added some already to move the video along, and just add little bubbles all around the front and back of the wreath, and then just make sure that you bring your peaks down so they can stay nice and rounded. And that's pretty much it. As you see, that is nice and full and pretty. So I think we're done with this one. So I'm going to set that aside and move on to this one so we can finish that one. My white icing in a tip 2. And I'm just going to squirt that right there and a couple right here to help attach that ribbon. And I'm just going to put it right there. And as you see, those 2 little dots that I made is just to hold that part of the ribbon, and the other one will hold the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, put them all together, and that'll be it. Alright guys, there you have your door cookies with wreaths. I think these are so neat, not only for the holidays, but I think as a housewarming gift would be nice as well. Also for Valentine's Day, I'm kind of liking that heart. Also, the cookies are not hard to do. They only require a few colors. The video may have felt a little lengthy, but I do have to explain everything in detail. Plus, I have 2 designs that I have to show you how to make. So it might have felt like it was a little bit of work, but they're really not that hard to do, guys. So give these a try. They're really, really neat. Alright, guys, I will let you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't done so. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And have a good one.